Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're starting something special. A look back at Daegu University's history as it heads towards its 70th anniversary.
That's right, a big milestone.
And for this first deep dive, we're going right back to the very beginning. The foundational years, 1946 to 1956.
A crucial decade. We'll be digging into the sources to see how it all started.
Exactly. We'll explore that really tough post-liberation, post-war environment in Korea and unpack the pioneering spirit that really planted the seeds for the university. Okay, let's get into it.
So that period, 46 to 56, it was just incredibly difficult for Korea. You have liberation, Gwangbok, which sounds great.
Right, freedom after occupation.
But immediately the reality was crushing poverty and the division of the country. One source puts it so starkly, Korea's Hyorega Jaliata, its waist was cut.
Wow, that's powerful imagery.
And then, bam, the Korean War, just utter devastation, political chaos on top of that.
It's hard to even imagine trying to build anything, let alone a school, in that kind of situation. Survival must have been paramount.
You'd think so. But what's fascinating and what the sources really highlight is this intense, almost fiery passion for education. Yowa gatun guyunyo.
A fiery passion, even then.
Yes. Despite everything, this passion actually drove a rapid increase in schools and universities. It's quite remarkable.
Education was seen as hope, a way out.
Exactly, a path to rebuild, overcome trauma. You know, the number of universities and colleges in Korea actually tripled between 1945 and 1956.
Tripled, amidst all that destruction.
Incredible, isn't it? And right at the heart of this particular story, the Daegu University story, is a really visionary figure, Songsan Lee Young-sik.
Okay, tell us about him. What was his vision?
Well, it was pretty revolutionary, especially for the time. While many focused on standard education, Lee Young-sik looked towards the people on the absolute margins. The disabled, people suffering from leprosy, even prisoners. His core belief was in their human rights, their right to education, their right to work, to participate. That wasn't common thinking back then.
And his own background played a role. Already grew up poor, was involved in the 3.1 movement, lost some hearing because of it.
It absolutely did. Those personal struggles, they gave him a deep empathy, particularly for those with disabilities. It fueled his work.
So this vision led him to act.
Yes. On April 20th, 1946, he spearheaded a founding committee meeting. They established the operating body for the Daegu School, for the blind and deaf Daegu Mainga Hagwon, and he was elected director.
But establishing it is one thing, getting it running. The sources say there were immediate problems.
Huge problems, like zero funds and no dedicated school building, just an idea and a committee.
So a very, very difficult start.
Incredibly difficult. The school didn't formally open until almost a year later, April 9th, 1947. And with just 12 students, 2 blind, 10 deaf.
12 students. And where did they meet?
In temporary space at Jeonggang Church. And they had to keep moving. Jeil Church, Lee Young-sik's own house, a missionary's house, a leased city building, just constantly shifting.
Wow, that instability sounds exhausting, especially for those students. Did they try to get official help, funding?
They did. They sought recognition as a welfare group, tried to become a municipal school, anything for stability and funding, but they just kept hitting financial walls.
And you scored it all.
Some limited aid came from Daegu City and the Ministry of Education eventually, but it wasn't nearly enough to operate properly.
Okay, so things sound pretty bleak.
They were. But here's where the story takes a really interesting turn, especially after the Korean War. International support started coming in.
International? Like who?
Organizations like UNCRA, the UN Korean Reconstruction Agency, the American Foundation for Overseas Blind, the John Milton Society, World Vision, they provided crucial help.
Okay, that makes sense, humanitarian aid. But I saw mentions of the U.S. military. How did they fit in?
That was absolutely key. U.S. military personnel stationed nearby chaplains, officers, they visited the school. They saw the conditions, saw the work Lee Young-sik was doing.
And they were moved by it.
Deeply.
Yeah.
They started significant fundraising efforts among the troops and provided really vital material aid, things like building supplies. That military connection was a game changer.
So that support helped them finally tackle the land issue, getting a permanent home.
It was crucial. Lee Young-sik desperately needed a stable site. He approached Daegu City. The only suitable land they could offer was, well, it was a former cemetery in Daejeongdong.
The cemetery, okay.
And there was another complication. It was occupied by about 400 leprosy patients living in makeshift conditions.
Oh, wow. How? How did he handle that? That sounds incredibly delicate.
It really speaks to his character.
Right.
He went and met with the patients, built relationships, apparently even knew someone from his previous work with a leprosy patient church. He helped negotiate their relocation to a proper national facility, what's now Chilgok Farm.
That's amazing.
Yep.
He facilitated their move.
He did. And based on that successful negotiation, the city council agreed in 1953 to donate about 10,000 pyong of that cemetery land to the school.
Incredible. And the students helped clear it.
The sources say they did. Imagine that. So finally, land secured.
And building could start.
Groundbreaking was March 1953. With those donated materials, partly from the military aid and engineering help from U.S. forces, the first permanent buildings, a school building, staff housing, were finished in 1954.
Finally, a real home. And they were expanding educationally too, right? Not just building.
Yes, they'd already added a middle school section back in 1951, and they were working hard on social awareness.
Big exhibition.
Exhibitions, yes, but also a really pivotal performance at the National Assembly in 1949.
At the National Assembly, what did they do?
Students demonstrated their skills reading Braille, using the abacus, performing the national anthem in sign language right in front of the lawmakers.
That must have had a huge impact.
It really did. It showed the potential, the capability. It helped shift perceptions nationally about educating the disabled, and crucially, opened the door for more government support.
So all these struggles, the support, the growth,
Yeah.
it's all building towards something.
Exactly. It builds towards 1956. In April that year, the school board decided to establish the Korea Institute of Engineering Hanguk Igong Hagwon.
Engineering Institute.
Yes, specifically as a preliminary step towards becoming a proper university. It got approved as a private academic program.
And when did it start?
Its first classes began on July 2, 1956.
July 2, 1956. So that's it. That's the factual start date of what becomes Daegu University?
That's the date. With Lee Young-sik as the first president and his son Lee Tae-young as academic dean, a major transition.
So looking back at this whole decade,
Yeah.
what's the big takeaway? It wasn't just opening a school, was it?
Not at all. The beginning of Daegu University wasn't some simple administrative decision. It was a really intense struggle, born from this deep, almost radical commitment to society's most vulnerable people.
Right. And weathering just unbelievable challenges. Poverty, war, instability.
Through sheer dedication, that visionary leadership, and also that vital, sometimes unexpected support, both local and international.
It really shows how that foundational vision, forged in such difficult times, laid the groundwork for everything that followed.
Absolutely. The roots run deep, shaped by that history. It really makes you think about how origins influence an institution's identity long-term.
Definitely something to consider. Well, that's all the time we have for this first deep dive.
It flew by.
Join us next time as we continue exploring the history of Daegu University.